My name is Stefano Marani. I'm the CEO and co-founder of the Virginia Gas Project, which is part of the Renergen group, and Renergen obviously now more recently having just been acquired by ASP Isotopes, which is a NASDAQ listed company. So yeah, thanks for being here today.
No, thank you for joining me. Now you've just got off stage from our panel discussion. So what are the key talking points that came up within that discussion?
So I suppose a lot of the key topics that came up today are how do explorers differentiate themselves in the context of the current market dynamics on the helium side. And one of the key themes that came away from the conference this year is obviously that if you look at helium over the history of the last 20 years, it has its periods of ebbs and flows in terms of supply, and it's interesting when you analyze the data over the last 20 years. 50% of the time it's been in oversupply, and 50% of the time it's been in undersupply. And the prediction, certainly amongst everyone in the room and the audience, is that this is going to continue probably for the next 50 to 100 years. The only way that this is eventually going to come out of the system where you've got a stable supply chain is where you've got a significant diversification. And that obviously spells good things for explorers. But then by the same token, when you're in periods of oversupply, it's very difficult for these new explorers to be able to raise the requisite funding, and that becomes the self-fulfilling prophecy, which keeps the system as it is in current over and undersupply. I'd say in a nutshell, that's pretty much been the theme for this conference.
Sure. Well, that leads nicely into my next question. So what are the key challenges that you're facing within the exploration and startup production business?
I think for a lot of the explorers and for a lot of companies that have gotten to the point where they've found that they've got helium in their field and now they want to prove it up, the biggest challenge that a lot of them are going to face is securing offtake agreements. And the reason for this is, unlike, say, for instance, discovering oil in an oil well, if you discover oil, it's a well-known market. You can price it off an index and off you go. It's very easy to finance. Helium is an obscure commodity. It has historically been an obscure commodity. It's controlled by a very few number of companies out there. Controlled is the wrong word, but there's a few. There are only a handful of companies that really dominate the sales of helium globally, and so as a result, raising funding on the back of that is typically quite challenging, because financial institutions just aren't used to helium because of the opacity of pricing. That needs to undo before you're going to have more commercial sources of funding available for junior startups.
So just how do you get to the next stage? Of course, finding helium is one thing, but getting it out of the ground and to market is another. So just how do you get to that second stage?
It's very regional. It's very specific it's very project specific. For instance, is the find that you make one where you've got a lot of associated natural gas, or is it just a pure helium play with associated nitrogen? And that really defines whether you're going to have a project that you gasify and you compress and you sell to your local market. If you're in a country that doesn't have a very high consumption of helium, then liquefaction becomes your only alternative. Or at the very opposite end of the spectrum, if you've got a big project where you've got associated methane, then you've got the requisite energy that you need at a low enough cost point to be able to liquefy the helium in the first place, and that opens up your sales channels. So there isn't one silver bullet that's going to work for every single explorer. Every single explorer is going to have to assess their specific circumstances, their route to market, and what their market needs in terms of offtake agreement. But then the biggest thing in all of this, the amount of energy to produce liquid helium is seriously a very, very large amount of energy. And so you need a very cheap source of energy if you're going to take that route.
Sure, and the challenges that we're seeing right across the industrial gases industry, I think. And to touch on Renergen, what's new with you guys? What developments have you seen over the last 12 months?
Obviously, the big news is the acquisition by ASP Isotopes, and we feel that this is really a hand-in-glove fit between the two companies. We were previously on a standalone basis, vertically integrated into the value chain, Now with the addition and the combination of the two companies, you're sitting in a position where we have a critical materials business that's vertically and horizontally integrated, specifically in areas around electronics and space exploration. So combining the fact that you've got helium as a critical input to a number of these industries, on the ASP side, you now add with it a number of key isotopes like silicon 28, like isotopically enriched copper, gallium, germanium, nickel. All of these materials are finding a home at the cutting edge of technology in space exploration, in defense, in computing, in quantum computing. And we now have an ability to service across the entire range, both vertically and horizontally in the chain.
Sure. And looking forward, is there any exciting announcements around the corner or any news that we should be looking out for from you guys?
We're listed. I can't tell you what announcements are coming out, but yes, we've got a busy 12 months ahead. It's all hands on deck, and right now it's just drill, baby, drill.
Absolutely. And to touch on the event, how have you found the last 2 days?
Listen, from a personal perspective, having the event in Austin was incredible. Really a great event this time round. I'd say much better than many of the previous events. This time round, it's been shorter, it's been very focused with lots of content. I think this is a much better format than in the past, where the events tended to be a lot longer, but not all of the content was necessarily relevant to everyone in the room. The format of the one followed this time around has been a significant improvement, in my opinion.
Great. And one final question before I let you go, Stefano. If you had a message to those who might be watching this who couldn't be with us in Austin this year, what would be your message to them?
My message would be that if it's in Austin again next year and around the time of the Grand Prix, it makes for a very formidable 5 days in Austin.
Fantastic. Well, Stefano, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Tom.